Hey, I'm Mitch Gallagher. Welcome to the Sweetwater Minute. Today we have a real treat for you. We have two music icons with us here in the studio. We're at Studio A at Sweetwater. We have Ross Hogarth, engineer with people like John Fogerty, Melissa Etheridge, a long, long line of people. And we have Kenny Aronoff, drummer with John Mellencamp, Melissa Etheridge, John Fogerty, an incredibly long line of people.
Yeah.
And tell us a little bit about why you're here at Sweetwater.
We came out to basically use the new studio here and do a live tracking session with Kenny, Lucas Rossi, his bass player Herman playing one of Lucas's songs, and utilizing Royer, Mojave, and other microphones, and basically giving a live recording session for the staff here.
Right. I had a chance to sit through the session a little bit earlier and hear what the guys were doing. It's an incredible song, and the sounds were great. And tell us a little bit about how you're using the microphones and the sounds you were getting.
Well, first of all, Kenny and I have a really long history together. So I used to kid him. I used to say, just build a road case and put me in it, and I'll just be there. You'll open it up, and I'll be at your sessions.
That was awesome.
Because first of all, Kenny is one of my favorite people and drummers, and for me to be able to get a chance to record him anywhere is always just a pleasure and an honor. And because he's such an amazing drummer, I always want to strive to get the best possible drum sound for him, so that his performance is based on what he's hearing too and how he's inspired, which is kind of my philosophy of making music. Inspire musicians by the sonic of it.
Plus, we're both into experimenting and trying things, and it'd be a drag if you get an engineer that's interested in trying things and taking the time to do it right, and you get an impatient musician. Makes his job more fun when the guy he's working with is into it just like he is.
Yeah,
So we're a good team.
Right. Yeah, we really do like to bounce off each other. And so over the years, John Jennings and Dusty from Royer and Mojave have been feeding me microphones on their, the first, try this, check this out. So I've been one of the first guys to use their ribbon mics, and now the Mojave tube and condenser mics, and that blend of those two microphones, then with the additional dynamic mics, from like say Shure that you can use right up on a snare or whatever. The blend of those mics create for me a real great palette of
Right.
And then so that's kind of as far as the microphone side of things, and then preamps. That I'm really happy with preamps like Wade Chandler Limited preamps, and the Great River preamps. People like that are making great products that really enhance the microphones. So,
Right.
I don't know if that's...
Now, when you have a drummer like Kenny who gets such a great sound in the room, the drums just sound phenomenal acoustically in the room. I noticed you're taking a real unique approach of capturing both close mics and a lot of room mics. Can you talk a little bit about how you work with a drummer who does fill a room like that?
Kenny's a powerhouse, so he's going to make a room explode. He's going to actually get the most out of a room by how he hits the drums. So I want to be able to capture the room, because if I'm not utilizing the sound in the room, then I'm actually letting a huge part of that sound go to waste. So for me, I want to basically capture a three-dimensionality. I was originally a drummer too, so I love the sound of a kit. You don't hear drums with your ear right up on a drum.
Sure.
Drums are the sound of drums. No one ever hears drums even a drummer doesn't hear drums that way.
Right.
So microphones shoved right up on a head are not really the sound of a drum. So you need to capture drum sounds by...
Hence John Bonham.
Yeah,
It was. Why does everyone like that sound so much?
Right.
That's what he's saying.
It's a room. It's a sound in a room. So the ribbon mics have they have a really interesting richness and depth that is enhanced then by close miking and condenser and tube mics. Like the Mojave 200s and 201s.
Right.
The Royer SF24 stereo mic is probably one of my most favored mics of all microphones now. Stereo Blumline pair microphone. I've used that. I use it in the center of the room. I use it over the drums. It's just an amazing tool. So, and then again with Kenny, it's like you can take a bad sounding kit and make it sound like a little better, but you can't take you want to take a great sounding kit and make it as good as it sounds. Like,
Right.
I don't actually want to
Yeah.
have him come in the room and go,
It doesn't sound like my drums. Wait a minute. Stand right over here. That's the thing. You know what? It's interesting that they, actually Ross was the one that turned me on to, what a ribbon mic can do to a drum set.
Mm-hmm.
Unbelievable, and it just creates a warmth and a richness to the drum sound. Like he'd go like, this is it with it, this is without it, And so now I'm fascinated by today because I got to really listen to him go through each mic. Because usually it's like we're talking songs,
Right.
and I pick up a little this, pick up a little that. But to go through the whole thing, it was really cool because I'm ready for it.
Right.
I understand. I mean, it's really, it's like what Dusty was saying. You spend a lot of time getting the phasing right. Why not spend that time when if you got a great sounding drum set, the drummer can get the sound out of the drum set and the room. Why, when you got these great mics, why wouldn't you spend the time? Because the out of phase stuff is like you're losing all of that incredible quality. And really, what he wants to do is capture. Okay, if you walk in the room, he says, "Wow, these drums sound amazing." All right, well, let's put a mic here where my ears here, and put a mic there, and pick up that sound. That's what you're trying to do is reproduce only what you're hearing. What you're hearing.
Right.
It sounds simple, but it's not easy.
I thought it was great during the session when you were asking questions about how you control the amount of hi-hat that's in the mix when you have overhead mics and those kind of things. And can you talk a little bit about that?
well, for me, a big part of it is mic placement and mic choice. One of the things that we talked about, which, with Kenny's I mean, look at him. This guy's, he's got guns.
Soft, they're a little soft today.
And so, he plays hard. And so, sometimes the cymbals with the wrong microphone might actually distort, So because cymbals, when they're hit, the initial attack can sound sort of like distortion. A lot of times you don't know, if you're not in tune to it,
Sure.
whether the actual capsule is distorting or whether the electronics are distorting or whether they're not distorting.
Mm-hmm.
So I have really become in tune to that because a lot of drummers, they're not aware that their microphones that are placed over them are actually distorting when they're being hit.
Yeah.
And so that's a really ugly sound, first of all. And then the hi-hat, if you're using microphones that you got to add too much top on, or you just generally add too much top, or the placement of the microphones might bring out, one element of the kit, but certainly maybe not embellish the hi-hat.
Right.
Then you add some top, and you think the snare sounds more cracky or whatever. But then in the middle of your track, when you're tracking, and then the player is playing hard and the hi-hat's open, all of a sudden that hi-hat becomes overbearing, or the placement of the microphone and using too much of the close mics because you don't have a room mic balance that brings out the kit. And so now you've got too much of the close mics in your balance, which are bringing out the hi-hat too. So I'm very cognizant of how much hat I'm going to get from my close mics and the EQ and what I'm not EQing into my room mics.
Right.
So that I don't actually bring out too much hi-hat, because the hi-hat may be one of the loudest instruments in the drum kit.
Oh, yeah.
So why would I EQ that EQ into that part of the drum kit?
Right.
And that's why the ribbon mics for me, they actually may, it's all a piece of a puzzle. Maybe on their own, one set of mics you might go, oh, that's a little dark. Isn't that a little dark? But no, you blend that into another set of microphones, and then it all sort of builds a building block of the... Because you've got, in the drum kit, you've got almost like earth to light.
Yeah.
You've got something way down below, and you got something way above.
Right.
So you need to be able to capture that.
That's all we have time for this week. We'll be back again next week. Be sure to join us for more with Ross and Kenny. I'm Mitch Gallagher. Thanks for joining us for the Sweetwater Minute.